Hello and welcome to the Surgical Spirit podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Haidar Al-Hakim, the Third Eye Doctor. Pull up a chair and get ready for some candid and uncompromising discussion with experts, innovators, agitators, and influential people from every corner of health and well-being. From inside the hospital to at home in the kitchen, we're leaving no stone unturned in our quest to uncover the secrets of healthier, happier, more successful, and less stressful lives. Thank you so much for joining us, and without further ado, let's meet this episode's guest. Hi Fiona, how are you?
Hi, good morning Haidar. Very well, thank you.
Excellent. Leadership is very topical at the moment with the current political situation and, the big hoo-ha about Brexit, and, that's going to go on for quite some time. So I'm just wondering, given that you've been working with leaders for a long time, particularly medical leadership, what makes a good medical leader?
I think leadership is a way that you express yourself in the world. It's a set of skills that you can learn and grow and develop. I don't think that leaders are necessarily born. I think they are skills that are available for anybody to learn if they really want to. And the kind of skills I think that are really important as we move into 2019 and beyond, they are a different kind of skills that are needed than have been traditionally needed. So, for example, previously people may be leading within an organisation, whereas now we need leaders that can work across systems in a very complex environment, people who can set a compass, a direction of travel, but also have a radar. And part of the radar, I think, is about their listening skills, their ability to have one-to-one relationships with a wide range of people around them so that they're constantly in dialogue with people about how people are feeling and what's going on. And because I think leadership is delivered through a series of relationships with people, and nobody wants to be done to. People want to be part of creating something, and I think that the challenge for leadership as we move forward is about how do you engage with a really wide, complex range of people to build a community of people who have a shared sense of purpose and vision and a sense of direction, but recognizing there is no kind of blueprint to follow. There's no formula that if you do this, then that. It's a shared discovery.
Mm-hmm. I mean, is it more important to have your own blueprint, or to be clear about your own blueprint, where you're going to, or is it literally just a free-for-all and it's important to create that personal relationship with people?
I think it's a both and. So you need to have an idea about where you're going, and I think the best way to do that actually is about being really clear about your own personal values and being really, really connected to expressing those during the course of your day and your career. But also it's not just about the answer and you're setting the direction. That doesn't really work anymore. It's very much you have these ideas and other people have these ideas, and how do we collectively work out, well, this is the direction that we're going to do our best to go in, but we're going to keep kind of close eye about, are we moving in that direction or not? And because we're in such a complex adaptive system, the world that we are in is very, very complicated. Then things can come from left of centre that you couldn't predict, so you need to be able to respond to that and perhaps readjust the course that you were going on. So I don't think it's the case that a leader has to kind of know a direction and set it, but it is something that you create together, informed by your, when you're in a senior role, you have a perspective across the system that perhaps not everybody has, but it is about how you empower people to kind of want to be going in that direction and to be actively, they need to own it. They need to kind of feel that that's the direction that they want to go into.
And when did this shift happen, in your opinion? I mean, it sounds very much more inclusive, this sort of leadership vision that you're having, rather than being the actual leader, allowing people to follow with you.
I think it's probably been a gradual transition. So I've been in system leadership roles for 20 years now, and but public health leadership has always been very much about leading across organisations, across systems, dealing with complexity, and I think that is now kind of the zeitgeist. It's now what certainly in the health world that we recognise that it's all about systems. It's not about individual organisations. It's about health, working with local government, working with third sector partners, working with local communities, working with independent business, and the whole kind of community coming together to improve the health of the population. And that's a very different skill set from, say, being a traditional director within an organisation that's focused on internal issues within that organisation.
And have you always had that kind of outlook, you as a person, or have you developed that over the years in your role?
I think I was probably attracted to it because of some early experiences that I had when I was a junior doctor. Within a few weeks of my first house job, I joined the Health Promoting Hospital Committee, and that was a real partnership of people from a wide range of disciplines across the hospital with health promotion specialists, and it was just brilliant. And I remember looking around the table and going, oh, it's really strange that I'm the only doctor here. I was really surprised about that, but actually I loved that work, and I found that I was really talented at leading groups and bringing people together and creating things together, and that kind of development kind of work. And actually that's why I ended up pursuing a career in public health, because I knew they were the kind of skills that I had and that I was good at and that I wanted to really grow and develop.
And do you think being a doctor in public health, do you think the doctor side of things hinders you, or does it make things better for you as a public health physician?
Well, it's a really, really interesting question, and it's one that the public health community has been exploring for the whole 20 years that I've worked in public health. And I think there are times when it adds value, and there are times when perhaps it isn't so relevant, or but it's very much, if you kind of hide behind the label I'm a doctor, then that doesn't really add value to anybody. But if it just happens to be the kind of background and training you have, then it can add a lot. You can bring a clinical perspective into things where in some forums that's really helpful, in some it's not. To me, public health is actually not about, in terms of my whole career, actually it's been not about pathologizing people, but about enabling people to flourish. And I don't know, I have mixed views myself about whether I needed to be a doctor to do the things that I have done. Some of them I would say yes, definitely. So my public health role around individual funding requests, for example, and commissioning policies and making sure that they're based on what the population needs, value, evidence-based, being able to look at clinical requests for a new high-cost drug, for example, and being able to draw on my clinical training to make a decision about that has been invaluable. Working with a local community around understanding what their health needs are. I don't think I needed to be a doctor specifically, and I think sometimes that may have been a barrier for people.
And as a career currently in 2018 and coming up 2019, is it something that you sort of impress upon and would encourage other medical students to go into it?
So public health is always changing and always evolving. The public health skill set, the training is just a fantastic qualification to have. It opens doors in all sorts of directions. I couldn't begin to name the different ways that you could use that set of skills. And I would encourage people to think about where they might want to use that skill set and what kind of employment setting they might see themselves working within, because a lot of public health consultants like myself moved into local government. We're now sort of chief officers, directors in local government. It's a very different role than working as a public health consultant in the NHS previously, for example. But the public health those skill sets are needed now more than ever. And I think there's a lot of recognition that that skill set in terms of, like I said, understanding population need, value, evidence-based, being able to have system leadership roles are really, really important. And also being able to reduce health inequalities, understand outcomes. How do you improve health outcomes? How do you spend, that £1 that you have to spend on improving health in this population? How do you spend that to best effect and make sure that every pound is spent to improve health outcomes? So I still think it's a fantastic qualification to have, and need to be thinking about where you would want to be using that as you go through your training program.
And careers are changing all the time. When you qualify 1 year, whether that will help you in your upcoming career is something totally different. How do you define careers? I mean, I find it very fascinating what a career means. I mean,
I think so.
Yeah, I'm just interested about your view about the word career.
So I think there's no such thing as a traditional career, and that traditional 3-stage model that we've had of careers of education, employment, which is quite stable, and then a period of retirement is rapidly going. Perhaps for the slightly older generation, that is still the model that they've had. But I'm in my mid to late 40s, and for somebody like me, I know I'm going to want to be working until I'm much older. In the context of, potential 100-year life and 70-year career, it's going to be much more about you. It's like crazy paving. There's an analogy that I use. Your career is now like crazy paving, and you have to create it and drive it. And it's very much around different chapters of your life. It will need to look quite different, but you can consciously create that through self-knowledge and self-understanding, and understanding what you need and what really motivates you at different periods of your life, and then creating your own unique path to suit you.
And is it more acceptable to go down this self-actualization career path? Is it much more acceptable now?
I think it's still quite a new way, particularly in some of the more traditional careers like medicine. It is still quite a new way of working. But I think there's a lot of recognition, for example, that doctors need a more portfolio approach to their career. They need to have a balance between different things that they're interested in at different times. So a clinical portfolio and a teaching portfolio and a appraisal, or all the different things that you can do within that career that add up to a full-time or possibly a part-time job, just depending upon what people need. But it does need a lot of self-insight and self-understanding to be able to create that. But that's what's going to bring most people lasting meaning, purpose, satisfaction and well-being in their lives, as over a longer period of time.
And I mean, for me personally, I think there's not enough internal work of knowing what makes you tick and what makes you work and don't work, and motivated, and having that purpose and having that passion and having that desire to do what you want to do in life. And I mean, I'm sure it's changing now. I'm not involved in medical school education, but I think that's something that they will concentrate in over the next 10, 20 years, I think.
Yeah, and I think medical schools are showcasing alternative careers or portfolio careers, and exposing their medical students to, well, you can use this qualification in lots of different ways, and they're responding to students asking them for more of those kind of experiences.
And in terms of, if people come to you and they want to change careers, is that common in medics? And if so, how do you go about doing that? Because it sounds really challenging.
Well, I'm a qualified careers counsellor as well as an executive coach. So if somebody is at the point where they feel they want to change career, then I will help them to make that decision. It's quite rare actually. Most people most people who contact me are either in leadership roles and really flourishing and want to, excel at what they're doing, perhaps with some careers work and some health and well-being work. But I do get people that contact me saying, I'm at the point where I can't cope. And I'm thinking of leaving medicine. I think that's the only way. And actually, for most of those, I find that through a lot of reflection, self-understanding, they are then able to identify and articulate what it is that they need. And most of those do stay in their job, or, with changes, they often will maybe drop some sessions, or they'll pick up a different area of interest, or they'll negotiate some flexibility around their hours, or whatever it is that they need. But most people are able to stay. They just need to have a period where they reflect and rejuvenate their career. So it's quite rare for somebody to contact me and say, I have decided to leave medicine, and that's that, I'm never going back again.
Yeah. So that's quite reassuring, really, for the medical profession here in the UK, given that that the majority of them just need kind of recalibration of their internal compass.
It's very unique to each individual. But I help people to understand exactly what they do need, learn a vocabulary to use to understand their career and their working life, and then to be able to make the right decisions for them based on, knowing they've gone through a kind of evidence-based process to help them to understand and make a clear plan to move forwards from here.
And how successful is this evidence-based plan?
Well, this is in terms of helping people to really connect with what's to bring them meaning, purpose and satisfaction. I get a lot of emails from clients several years down the line telling me about what they're doing now and how pivotal the work that we did together was, and how it's really opened up their thinking and their horizons. Just had an email yesterday actually from a senior registrar that I'd worked with, who's now in her first consultant post, and she's really flourishing in it because she's been able to get it set up in a way that's really going to work for her, for example, or a GP who was on the edge of burnout who's now in a medical director role and leading system health improvement work and really loving what he's doing. So
wow.
I haven't done any randomized controlled studies, obviously, but I can see a real impact in people, because often when I first work with them, they are, maybe not in a great place, but I see them flourish in front of me. And that's why I call my model the upward spiral, because I help people get on an upward spiral, but also to learn skills that they can use during the course of their careers to actively manage themselves and their careers over the course of the rest of their career. So teach a man to fish kind of, or person to fish.
And what are the three important skills that our listeners can hear about today, that you can tell them about?
In terms of managing their careers? Or?
Yeah, managing their careers, or they're going through some difficulty at the moment. What are the three top skills you would advise them?
Okay, so radical self-care. I think all doctors need to learn the skills of radical self-care, and it will be unique to them around what that is, but it's something that every professional, I think, in the current environment, they need to learn those kind of skills, and to really invest in themselves as their own greatest asset in their own lives and career, so that do that work to really understand yourself and what you need and your own growth and development and what's going to really feed you for that next period of time. And third one, I suppose I'm thinking about tapping into what people love, what really gives them joy and creativity and passion, and kind of making sure that they have that somewhere in their working week or their working month. It may not be what you do for your day job, For some people, it may be something that they do it in their spare time, but making sure that there are those things that really feed you in your life.
Wonderful. They sound really, really important and something that's essential for continued success. How can people get hold of you, Fiona? What's the best way if they want to contact you and get their careers flourishing?
So I have a website, www.fionadayconsulting.co.uk, and from there it's got all my contact details of my coaching programs, and testimonials from all the people that I've worked with, and lots of information on there too. Just get in touch.
Wonderful. Well, it's been a great pleasure, Fiona. Thanks for your time today, and look forward to speaking to you soon.
Yeah, thank you, Haidar, and all the best to you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to this instalment of the Surgical Spirit podcast. For all the latest in the world of surgical spirit, don't forget to follow on Twitter at The Third Eye Doc, and catch me on Facebook at the page The Third Eye Doctor. You can visit the website at www.thethirdeyeDoctor.co.uk for more information on the work that I do. And please send us feedback and questions and suggestions for the podcast. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. I've been Dr. Haidar Al-Hakim, and I'll see you next time.